Nice to meet you guys. My name is Francisco. You can call me Frankie for short. Um, I'm an associate of Technia. So today, so if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, we can get started. Probably like a minute early, but go
Shoot, like just with us. I think we're the only ones here right now.
yes. It's also recorded too. So
Oh, okay. Well, hi everyone. My name's Rebecca Peakey. I'm a senior product manager at NerdWallet.
awesome.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Pablo Cruz, and I am an angel investor and part of the investment committee for Cap Table Coalition, as well as a venture fellow at Chicago Blend and Alumni Ventures, supporting the Columbia University Fund. But before that, I was in banking, and before moving to venture capital, I was actually a product manager. So for several startups, including Frog Design.
Oh, awesome. Well, I don't know if they do introductions about the moderator, but my name is Frankie, Francisco de Jesus, Frankie for sure. I'm a student at FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast University, and I'm major in entrepreneurship as well. And I'm in the Fintech area as well for trading.
Awesome.
Very cool. Nice to meet you.
So, yeah, without further ado, tech go hand in hand, hence the Fintech. Today, we've gathered some great and knowledgeable folks to help us understand the behind the scenes of creating not only successful product, but also successful teams. So, so let's get started. So for either, of course, whoever wants to start first, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to Fintech product management or development?
Sure, I'd be happy to start. So a little bit about my background. So I'm a product manager now, but I was previously working in marketing. So I switched into the PM role. When I started as a product manager, it was in Fintech. And something that was a challenge at that time was navigating an industry I didn't have a lot of experience with growing up. So growing up, my family wasn't very good with finances. I was kind of scared of credit and didn't really know too much about anything really other than like, oh, I have a savings account. So when I started as a PM in Fintech, there was a challenge having to learn kind of the basics of finances, but then also the foundational product development skills that I needed to succeed in the role. And how I kind of navigated that was asking a million questions. So big proponent of asking questions. So just reading as much as I can, talking to colleagues really helped. It's something I wish I did more of growing up in school. But yeah, I think that's been one of my biggest challenges.
Okay.
It's a great answer, Rebecca. I guess a little bit of context. So I started my career working for firms like Vanguard and Morgan Stanley under the tutelage of investment management. So I was fortunate enough to kind of, through the work, understand financial best practices. That being said, I also, over some time, felt very frustrated that those best practices didn't necessarily translate to the average consumer or the tail end of the market. Right. And in fact, the less assets a family has, the less resources they actually have, the more they engage in poor financial best practices, which is, a very sad correlation. And so, it's something that's, dawned on me to kind of try to fix, whether it's, as a product manager working in, building Fintech or investing in Fintech and supporting founders that are doing the same. And I think for me to answer that question, the biggest challenge is, I think there's two, but chiefly it's the changing of consumer behaviors. And, I think that it's always a moving target, a moving goalpost. And we're living in a time of accelerated returns and accelerated innovation. And so sometimes it's hard when you have to commit in building a very new product or a really cool feature, et cetera. Are you building the right feature and are you building the right product that'll solve that unmet need given the constant innovation and the changes that are occurring in this space. So that's really hard. And there's methods, and we can talk more about that later on how to kind of tilt the odds in your favor and ensure that you indeed are solving that problem, right? And I think that the second biggest challenge would be just the technological advancements, right? So it's not just the consumer behavior, which is most important, but what new technology is coming up there that you can use as an enabler to kind of solve for that. So keeping up with that, with all the latest trends, I think is always difficult and a challenge for product managers to kind of commit to and kind of go on and develop. So, but these are opportunities, and so, if you have the right stuff, you will turn this into, great opportunities to tilt in your favor.
That makes, trust me, I agree. One of the things that I've always been told was, especially in this school, is that you're not here to like make a product, you're here to solve a problem, especially in the fintech universe with like, it's so like fast and vast. It's crazy. So great answers. Okay, so to move on to the second one, there are like about 6 questions, so about 25 minutes, so you know what I mean, just powering through. The second one, what key features are successful in fintech products?
Yeah, I can start here. So I think one of the most critical things that, like, working in fintech as a product leader is to create a really strong onboarding experience for your users. So that's like the same as like a first impression. So there's so many fintech companies out there who are doing a lot of the same things, but what really can differentiate your product is how you introduce yourself, the value props to the users, and really help guide them through the experience. So, as PMs, within our own companies, we should have a pretty strong understanding of what we can give to people and what our value is. But we have to understand that people are coming in, a lot of people with sensitivities towards finances, just being scared. So really helping, guide them through the process and help them understand, like educate them, like what, they might kind of know what they're looking for, but not all the details. So how do you make it as simple to understand as possible and really make them feel empowered to be coming to you as a company and helping find whatever they need related to finances. So no, it's not like a specific feature, but I think that onboarding experience is absolutely critical.
Yeah, I would totally agree. When I was at Frog and I was advising a major bank, a regional bank, but they were expanding into the digital space. The first 2 things that I mentioned to them was, it's not about a feature, frankly, or the product. And this is coming from a product manager. It's everything about the outcome, right? Outcome is everything. That's where the KPIs need to be aligned, right? That's how, the OKRs need to be kind of processed, but outcome is the most important thing, not the product. And then the second thing, just to kind of set expectations with them, was, that money is useless if you take it at face value. It's what you do with that money, what gives it meaning and value. And we can't lose sight of that, right? So money is paper, it's a digital asset, et cetera. But if you tie that money, for example, for a wedding or to finance education, et cetera, it's those outcomes and it's what you do that actually gives it meaning. And we need to be conscious of that because we are indeed dealing with human beings who care and have a life, and money is just the resource to kind of get them there. So I think having that mentality, translate in everything that we do when we're designing fintech products, when we're building fintech products, et cetera, I think is a core mantra to be successful. There's like, key features that are also really important, like themes, I would say, like, as Rebecca mentioned, like onboarding, I think is very, very critical and oftentimes falls short. especially for certain demographics like the underserved or the underbanked. You need to have, strong UX interface to make it really engaging and intuitive. No one reads a manual anymore. And that in itself could be an extension of good best practices. Regulation, we're entering a space where regulation itself is becoming more innovative and engulfing. So being mindful of that is also critical. Certain financial products are major topics of conversation. 40 Act funds are always, a big thing. There's, the SEC, there's the banking regulations, real estate, and then there's, even VC now is a subject of conversation. So you have to be mindful of that. Scalability is another one. So how do you do that and become very malleable with interoperability? So those are, I think, big tenets of mine when it comes to that. But that's more like building a bare bones fintech firm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so just kind of like more like awareness as well from just everything that's happening. Like you mentioned, all the company, like SEC and regulations, and just building all those kind of financial products. So experience and awareness, essentially. So awesome. Okay. So the next one, have you seen AI affect fintech product development? So any type of like the speed of growth, especially with ChatGPT just coming out and all the different advanced technology just coming out, has that affected fintech in good way, bad way?
Oh, sorry. I think this.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
My page reloaded and now there's two of me and I can't hear anyone. I'm gonna leave and come back in.
Okay. While Pablo does that, I'm happy to take the question because I love this question. I think everybody's aware of how in your face AI has been over the last year. I can't open LinkedIn without seeing like AI best tips and all of that. And as a product manager, I'm very skeptical of like new stuff or like getting shiny object syndrome or just people talking about AI just to talk about AI. However, I think with the developments over the last year, I've been super interested to see what AI and machine learning can unlock as PM. So there's super basic stuff like using ChatGPT to help with some like initial market research or create a template to use for a product requirements document, something like that. But actually recently just finished taking 2 AI for PM courses through Maven. So if anybody wants to reach out, I'm happy to give some more tips on that on the side. But I took those classes and they were super, super interesting, just seeing how much AI can help unlock as we look at the products that we're working on within fintech. So I think a really exciting opportunity that I've been thinking a lot about is how to leverage AI and machine learning for a more personalized experience for users. So that's something that I'm really curious to continue learning more about. And there were a lot of great sessions yesterday focused on AI. So if anybody wants to catch those recordings, I thought those were great. But yeah, so I've moved past. I don't think it's like a shiny object thing. I think it's a really powerful tool to help unlock a lot of great things for users, especially as we talked about with like educating and like a more personalized experience. I think that could be huge.
Well, yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. I mean, it's very much up there, and it's crazy just to even think about. Especially, like I said, I'm an entrepreneurship major, and I see a whole bunch of students already kind of using AI, such as Midjourney and ChatGPT, to like enhance their product or even search for their market market segment and whatnot. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Guys, I can't hear anything. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys can?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't hear anything. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Not entirely sure what's going on. I think last time it worked because I was in first, and everyone that followed I could hear. Maybe I'm not sure.
Here. I don't even know if we should try just leaving and then coming back.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rebecca?
Oh, yeah, okay. I just sent in the chat too if you want to answer the question, because we can hear him.
Oh, his screen went black.
Technology, am I right?
Nope.
While we're
Would you guys want me to answer the question number 3?
Yeah.
Or like
that could work.
Just jump. Yeah, we can do that. So like analog. I think it was the question around how AI affects fintech product development. And I'll definitely look at this video again to get Rebecca's input because I really want to learn about her perspective on it. I think for me, AI, there's a lot of, from a VC end, there's a lot of companies that have just been born that say that they're AI companies. The fact of the matter is, just to set context straight, most companies are not AI companies. Most companies use AI as an enabler. And I think that's the critical, answer that I have here, which is, it's a critical enabler for like front end retail products, especially for like the tail end of like financial services or consumers that usually never got a lot of attention, just simply because it's expensive, right? The CAC is really hard to kind of like acquire them and build a business model around that. And with scalability, it adds greater expenses. So that's another one. And then I'm really big on fintech infrastructure right now. Simply because it's like really ripe for innovation, and picks and shovels tend to be a really good place to be in a place where there's a gold rush, if you will, right? Some key themes here that I see AI kind of like touching on: personalization. It's front and center, and that can take many forms. Fraud detection and prevention, part of infrastructure, but I think that's really, really critical, especially given the history of financial services. How do we make sure that we protect ourselves or the firms from hubris, which happens in a cyclical event? Chatbots, virtual assistants, that's another great one that I've seen. I personally have invested in several companies, one of them being Slang.ai, whose CEO is also, Latino, and he's doing really amazing things. So that's a consequence of AI kind of going there and creating this new channel. Credit scoring, right? The ability to be very, very creative now and leveraging AI to look at different data points to audit or underwrite. I think there's a really great opportunity there. Predictive analytics, so not just looking and reacting to data that's come up, but also how do you use that to forecast and do predictive analytics to kind of put your firm or make more sound decisions based on it. Natural language processing, so that's really big for like documentation, automation, verification, KYC, all those infrastructure requirements that are needed. I think there's a great place to play there. And then lastly, just blockchain and just the ability for faster processing, right? People want their money faster, sooner, and in their account that they can then use. So like one of the biggest gripes that I have is like, when you send a transfer, or when it says, hey, you're going to be paid today. Well, that doesn't mean that you have access to those funds today. And so, the ability to kind of incorporate that to kind of accelerate those things, I think is going to be critical for cash flow and just, benefits for fintech. You create new channels.
Okay. Makes sense. So cool. Sorry, you can't hear me, right? So
If there's a chat, I'd love to. I can
yeah,
probably sync in there,
there is a chat.
and that way I can follow you guys.
You see the chat? It's on the right-hand side.
Nice.
Okay, but I'll just type in the next question, and Rebecca, of course, I'm gonna say it as well. So, what advice would you give for those looking to develop fintech products? How would you advise them to minimize the risk for underserved communities?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think for PMs, regardless of industry, but I mean, especially for fintech, you really want to ensure that you understand the problem that you're solving for. So oftentimes, what I've seen in my experience, people will create a solution and kind of like go down the rabbit hole. You know, we need XYZ, mapping out this plan, even put some of the plan into development. But if you don't understand like what the actual problem is, you could end up wasting a lot of time and resources. So as product leaders, when you're, you know, maybe see a data point that begs a question, or you have someone in senior leadership saying, hey, we should do this. As a PM, you need to help everybody take a step back, you know, outline the problem and get alignment on that's what you're solving for. And from there, you can go into solutioning. And in that product discovery process, once you've established the problem, it's critical to get as much feedback as possible. So that's internally within your company, but like, you know, not just the immediate team that you work with, but people maybe in different roles, like a business stakeholder from BD or a salesperson, marketing even. And also doing, you know, both quantitative and qualitative analyses. You know, if it's a specific problem that you've identified that's, you know, depending on what your user looks like, really try to understand how that problem affects them and what are like the related things that it could be affecting them too. And take all of that information and use that to outline your solution. So you're looking at it through as many different lenses as possible. That way you'll be building a successful product, because, you know, too often people feel under pressure to just build something and ship it. And you can do that, but you want to be successful. And if you don't take the time and put in the thought and due diligence to make sure you're understanding the problem, you're building the solution to that problem, and you're doing it in a thoughtful way for the users that you're building for, then you're going to fail. And nobody wants that. So it's worth like it doesn't even take that much extra time. It's just really like product managers are collaborators, right? So we have to collaborate with our team internally, designers, engineers, business stakeholders, but also our users. And we're one of the biggest voices of the users. So we really need to take into their problems, their experiences, and adapt that as we build out the solutions for the product.
For sure. So just giving like a nice, like a market validation per se, you know?
Yeah.
So just always searching for that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, it's really good. So. I really like that answer, Rebecca. I turned on the transcripts, so now I can actually participate live, which is great. So I have context of things. Big win there. But yeah, I couldn't have said it better, Rebecca. You know, just to answer that question, I'll be like really, really brief for additional context. But when it comes to like venture building, so not just like product development or product management, but venture building itself, like how do you build a business, a fintech business? I look at it as two chief phases. The first one is, you know, answering, are you building the right product? right? And that's game zero. You need to get that right. And then the second question is, after you answer that one, is are you building the product right? Okay, first one, are you building the right product? And then are you building the product right? They're related, but they're different. So for the first one, I think something that's transformative that we did a lot at Frog, and I want to kind of like incorporate that into venture capital, and I love seeing that with recent startups, is the emphasis on behavioral science, right? So kind of touching to what Rebecca had mentioned, being extremely, extremely empathetic with the customers, business or retail, putting your head and your thoughts, your spirit in their position, and trying to understand the psychology that goes behind it. Behavioral science, just for those that are new to that field, is basically something that it should be cross-disciplinary, cross-team, that everyone should be engaged in, including and especially the product manager. And the goal is to answer that first question: are you building the right product? You have an unmet need, and there could be many solutions to it, but is this the right one? Behavioral science will allow you to answer that, because it starts with the outcome in mind, right? Outcome, the desired effect, and you back solve, and you try to study it, right? Become a student of the market that you're in through qualitative and quantitative testing. You go back and forth to understand the promoting and inhibiting pressures, the behaviors, to ultimately get you to your end result, which is the behavior, the outcome that you want. I think that's really, really important. And I've seen that in fintech. There's a lot of fintech companies out there. It's a very popular space. It's a key buzzword. It's also very all-encompassing. So now any company could really be a fintech company. I'll share a story later. But if that's all fine and dandy, but the goal is to, as Rebecca said, solve the main problem, be really, really focused and understand the customers. And that's exactly how you do it. So, a little example too, to just kind of like, I found really interesting when I was a student in the market, is the fact that, Starbucks, most people don't know, but the way they created their business model and their structure for their cards or whatever, it's like a benefit or whatever, and they give you like a promotion of $5, et cetera, but you could only spend it in their institution, and those cash holdings on that they give you are present in their institution. So basically, Starbucks is really a bank, and it's not just a small bank, but it's really one of the biggest banks in the United States, bigger than most retail banks that we see here and there. And so the challenge there and the lesson there is that we can no longer just look at a company and, regardless of the space that they're in, and say that they're not a fintech, or there is no fintech play. In fact, the contrary, there's opportunities to have cross-pollination between them. So that always challenged me to kind of be like, well, how creative can I be? What really is the future? Where are the trends going around fintech, and how I can best position myself? And if you follow Rebecca's tenets, I think you're in a really good place.
Yeah, it's funny when you mentioned the whole entire just empathizing, you and Rebecca, Pablo and Rebecca, you guys mentioned that, and it's funny, we have like a system here. It's called design thinking. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that term, but it's something to look into. It's pretty interesting, and it has to do with empathizing and ideation and everything like that. So we actually have 2 minutes left. So I don't know if we'll have enough time for another question, but if any, I don't think we do, but it's all good. I thank you guys so much, of course, for coming out and sharing your thoughts as well. I think for those who are attending, I think there's a way, I think you guys put in your LinkedIn as well, right? There's like a way to do that and stuff.
Yeah, I think so, under the people button, or if not, just drop it in the chat. Yeah, so of course, if you guys want to, connect and share each other's LinkedIn and just kind of follow along, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good idea. So, but let me see. Just fun fact question. What song would you recommend for the audience to add to their library? Just a random question. I'm happy to start. I would maybe say Heated by Beyonce. So on a big Beyonce kick right now. I just went to the Renaissance tour. Gonna see the movie on December 1st. So yeah, great album.
Nice. And Pablo, any answer?
Nice. Great album. And then I think for me, the question is around like the fun fact around the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you for validating. Yeah. I think for me, like I'm, 90s were really good. I'm into rock. So Fatboy Slim, Praise You. I just randomly heard that on Spotify earlier today, so I was like, I'm gonna go with that. That's really good. He sent me some good vibes. I encourage everyone to please connect with me on LinkedIn. I accept everyone, and I also encourage everyone to go to my website. I blog about venture building and product management best practices, my perspectives in fintech as one of the sectors in which I invest. And all of the content that I curate is specifically designed for founders and people in the technical field. So hopefully you get a lot of value from it. You're the audience. So thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you guys again. And I hope you guys have a good day. I encourage everybody to connect. But that's just me. But thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks, Francisco.